Hello everyone, my name is Chris Engel, and I am an Army veteran, HR professional, and a military spouse and a mother of 4. Today we will learn how to fight our way into the federal government. We will cover what it takes to attain a government job, how we can navigate USA jobs, and how to write a federal resume. I request all of you to participate wherever you are. Respond with what first comes to your mind. If you were stuck on an island and there were limited seats on the rescue ship, what reason would you give to be rescued? Go ahead and pause for a moment and write that down. Think about why you should have a seat on that rescue ship. What is your purpose? And why does it matter? Start thinking about that right now. If you know it, pause for a moment and write it down somewhere that you will see every day. A good place to start is maybe your steering wheel, if you're someone that commutes in every day to work or to take the kids to school. Maybe your bathroom mirror, maybe the fridge, but somewhere that will catch your attention every day. What your purpose is and why it matters to you. Your purpose for your life can have an impact on your career choice and fuel you through your best and your worst days. In 2022, the U.S. deployed thousands of servicemen and women. The average service member and their family goes through more life-changing events in a year than the average person outside of the military does in a lifetime. Looking at Northern California, there are accounted for over 6,000 homeless veterans just in one part of one state. The last year that the suicide rate was captured for veterans was in 2020 at 6,146, with an average of 16 veteran suicides per day, with the most common age of death being between the ages of 18 and 34 years old. Why do we have homeless veterans? Why do we have servicemen and women who choose to take their own lives? And how can we make a difference now? I bring you back to your purpose and how it can fuel your life, support you, and not just making life choices, but support you in making your career choice and really what's right for you outside of the military. Being in service is something you chose to do, and as far as I know, no one here was forced to join. And you as an individual have a purpose in this life. Knowing your purpose and your intention for life, and most importantly, what you want from life, will give you the energy you need on any day and in any situation. Knowing your purpose can and will impact you now while serving, if you are still serving in the military, and when it is time for life outside of the military. The military is amazing at grooming us to think and act a certain way. It is what the military needs. And along the way, servicemen and women may forget what it is they want, why they joined in the first place, and some may have grown resentment towards serving or service. But why? I talk to service members daily, and often I hear the same thing. I left because I was undervalued. I left because I felt invisible, lost, bored, stuck, and having to choose between family and military. This may be some perspective or situation, and over time they lose what their purpose is for their life, why they joined in the first place, and where to go from there. The opportunity is to remember and know your purpose for joining and why you chose to serve, what you want out of life, and what your goals are, so you can live life to the fullest, regardless of the situation around you. This can make your journey in and out of service much more meaningful for you. I share this with you all today because from my own experience, I know it can feel overwhelming during the transition. And even with that, I learned that understanding my own purpose supported me in creating my own career path, both while I was still serving in the military, through my transition, and now with my civilian career. I'm here today to share with you one opportunity for your next step in your career and what pursuing a career in the government looks like for veterans. So let's jump right in. What is USA Jobs? USA Jobs is the main website, not the only, but it is the main website that all federal agencies use to post their vacancies and receive applicants for those vacancies. The time requirement for the posting of each announcement will vary based on the agency requirements and the type of position. The first step to apply for a federal position is creating a profile on USA Jobs. There is no reason to really start searching for a position until you have completed your profile. Once your profile is complete, you will have 4 areas to enter in your information. The first tab for your profile is the Home section. In the Home section, you'll be able to view all applications that you have applied for and their status. A status can be in progress, received, referred, not selected, selected, or canceled. You will be able to view your saved jobs. For example, you can pick a job that you might want to further consider or gather more insight on before you apply, and then go back and apply later. The last area is saved searches. You can create a search with the title and location and set your notifications to notify you through email when a position that falls into that search category is posted. When creating an account, it is really important that you fill in every single step for building your profile. This information will be used every time you apply for any position. If you move or your preferences change, make sure you update your profile. Within the profile section, there are 11 tabs. Your contact information, you complete this by adding your address. A PO box is fine. An email, always professional. We don't want to see hotbikinibody@gmail.com. Just keep it professional. For example, christina.angle@gmail.com. And your phone number, please make sure your voicemail is set up and is also professional. A good rule of thumb is just use the voicemail that comes with your phone. Citizenship, you must annotate your citizenship. Hiring paths, you'll want to claim every hiring path that you can and that applies to you, and that you have the documents to support it. And we'll get to that in just a moment under the Documents tab. So for example, veteran, military spouse, Schedule A, recent grad. This will expand your search and position opportunity results as well. Federal experience, if you have held a federal position before, non-military, add it and make sure what you enter matches your SF50, and make sure you add your latest SF50 that shows your last promotion or step increase. Military experience, if you have served in the military, add your service dates. Make sure they are accurate and match your most current DD-214. Work experience, add all work experience that is relevant to the positions you will be applying for. Education, add all your education experience, including degrees and certifications. Demographics, not required, but of course recommended. It can further make available more opportunities to you the more details you put into each tab within your profile. Languages, add all languages that you speak, read, and write. Organizations, add all organizations that you affiliate yourself with. References, it is strongly recommended that you have at least 3 professional references on file within your profile. Once you are offered a position within the government, it is a requirement that the agency have 3 professional references to call and verify your work ethic, your work experience, and just overall who you are as a person. You may have up to 5 resumes on USA Jobs. You might be like, why would I have 5 resumes? 5 resumes can come from different career paths that you're considering. So for example, you may want to go into business management, but within business management, there's legal, there's finance, there's HR. So you can create a resume within USA Jobs based on the type of positions that you are applying for. You can have up to 10 additional documents stored on USA Jobs. So a few ideas would be your DD-214, SF-50, transcripts, appraisals, performance awards, and certifications. The Preferences tab allows you to set specific preferences that you would prefer, such as how much you are willing to travel, type of appointment, permanent or temporary, and the type of schedule, full or part-time, that you are considering for this position. USA Jobs has also recently expanded this portion to allow for you to select telework or remote options as well. USA Jobs has an amazing search function when you are looking for that perfect opportunity. Across the top, the keywords can include the position title you are looking for, and the location can be the city or state you would prefer to work in. And then if you notice the flag near the top of the page where you can select Save this search, or if the search is already saved, you can select Edit Save Search. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can set up your own filters for your searches. This way you can narrow down exactly what kind of job you are looking for. This can speed up your searching and applying process. Remember, your saved searches will save on your profile, and you can select to be notified daily, weekly, or monthly, or when a new position falls within that search criteria, it can be sent directly to your email with that notification. Pausing for a moment, let me just share something a little personal. I applied for 75 federal jobs during a 9-month deployment. I received 3 interviews and landed 2 job offers. Don't give up. This process can be a little exhausting, and I would just say that stay committed to it. Keep your documents up to date, keep your profile up to date, and when we cover the resume section, keep that up to date and be ready to apply. You never know when that perfect opportunity is going to fall right into your lap. After accepting my first federal position as a GS-7, in less than 5 years, I was able to work for 3 different government agencies and go from a GS-7 to a GS-13. Again, the opportunities are out there. So now let's take a look at building your resume. Your resume is your first introduction to a possible future employer. It is important for you as a veteran to understand the difference between a federal and civilian resume. Think of it this way. When we all went through MEPS and how long that process was, the government wants to know as much as possible about you, and the private sector wants a very brief overview of the applicant. Looking at these examples, a federal resume has contact information, up to 10 years of relevant work experience, both military and civilian experience, education, affiliations in organizations, volunteer work, and references. Where a civilian resume has contact information, maybe 5 years of work experience, very civilian focused, only your primary degrees, and references. I always recommend that anyone who's applying to get into the government use the USA Jobs Resume Builder. On the website, there is a step-by-step resume builder that puts your information in a format that the employer prefers, and it's really easy for it to be created from all the information that you've put into your profile on USA Jobs. So if you really take your time and when you're creating that USA Jobs profile, you're uploading the documentation, you're making sure that all the information is correct. When you click on create a resume using the USA Jobs Resume Builder, it will pull all that information that you've put in there, and then you'll be able to review it and just make sure that all of it is accurate. Your contact information is an essential part of your resume. It allows the employer to be able to contact you, ask for more information, or set up an interview. Just a few tips to keep in mind. Your name should just say your name. You can add Mr., Miss, or Mrs. You should not include your military rank, and I like to explain why. I recently had a HR specialist come to me and they thought there was a typo on the resume because it said SGM. SGM is the abbreviation for Sergeant Major. I knew that with my prior military experience. However, the specialist did not know that, and they thought it was a typo before the applicant's name. So just to keep it clean, just in case you have someone that doesn't have that military background, just keep your contact information with your name. And of course, you can add Mr., Mrs., or Miss. Your address can be your physical address or your PO box. Your phone number is best when mobile. It just allows for more opportunities for the employer to reach you. Your voicemail must, of course, be professional. And if you're ever in doubt, you can always use the automated voicemail option that comes with most phone providers. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're applying for a lot of jobs, you might get a lot of unknown calls, or some of them could be even 1-800 numbers. I just recommend that you, at the very minimum, have your voicemail set up. But of course, when you answer your phone, make sure that you're answering professionally, like, "Good morning, this is Christina, how may I help you?" So that way you come across as the professional person that you are and that you want to portray to those future employers. And when you have applied for jobs, know what jobs you have applied for and start creating that list. I'm really big on Excel spreadsheets. So if you have a quick little Excel spreadsheet, you can even have the Sheets option on if you have an iPhone. You can just keep track of every single position you've applied for and have a little bit of a pre-planned reason as to why you applied for that position, because you may get asked that when somebody reaches out to you and asks for you to set up an interview with them. Your work experience should go back as far as 10 years if possible, and include the job positions you have held that relate to the job you are applying for. Hence the reason you may need to have up to 5 resumes, depending on the different careers that you're looking at. So what do I mean by that? If you've been working as an operations manager for the last 10 years, there's probably no need to add the barista position you held at a coffee shop 15 years ago, unless it pertains directly to the job in some way, customer service, for example, that you're applying for. I recommend not to use bullet format. Most agencies prefer an organized paragraph format. When writing in your job description, it is important that you bring out every important detail about the duties that you have held. Think of it this way: the reviewer, they want the facts. They need to know what you did, how many times, what was the outcome, and how did you leave the position better than when you found it. Always quantify your experience. For example, I developed an Excel spreadsheet that tracked all the personnel actions for over 100 employees. The tracker was then implemented in 5 other departments. I was recognized by the CEO for the efficiency of their report. Write it for the job that you are applying for. If you are applying for a human resources position, highlight and bring out all the positions you have held that relate to office work, customer service, HR programs and operations, and why. Because all of those areas tie into HR related positions. Include the number of hours worked per week for the position. This is how the HR office will qualify your experience and determine what GS grade and basically what salary they will be able to offer you with the position. If you include your annual salary for the past positions you have held, it does highlight the raises and promotions that you have received, especially throughout your military career. Someone might know might not know what it means to go from staff sergeant to sergeant first class, or an E6 to an E7. However, if you add the salary, it will make more sense and they will see that growth there as well. Remember this, being a veteran is not what sets you apart from other applicants. You are what sets you apart. You have something to offer that maybe somebody else doesn't. And that is what makes you unique for the positions you are applying for. Understand that being a veteran for anywhere between 2 to 20 plus years is very important to you, your family, and your country. It's not as important as you might think when applying for a job in the federal workforce. Why? Because many of the people that work in the government as a civilian do not understand half the things you're referencing when you talk about your military experience. What do I mean by that? Let's look at these two examples. Military versus civilian, and the difference. How you write your resume and how you share what you did matters, because you never know if the person on the other end is going to understand that military lingo that we all become accustomed to when we're living that military lifestyle day in and day out. Let me just read this to you for a moment. Retired Sergeant Major, United States Army with over 20 years of experience, proficient at maintaining soldier records, improved passing APFT for over 20 soldiers, fostered an environment that promoted soldier growth and development, always maintained unit readiness for missions and mobilization, improved physical fitness standards of the unit by 90%. Professional Operations Manager with over 20 years of experience, proficient in maintaining employee records containing sensitive information, fostered an environment that promoted employee growth and development, maintained department readiness in order to complete projects and reach the objective of the company, held employees to company standards and policies by leading by example and improving employee morale and well-being, improved department physical fitness requirements for employees by implementing a physical fitness workout plan that resulted in improving the test results by 90%. Really hear and see that difference and how someone who may not know at all what the military does or what those different terminology means can understand based on how we write our resume. There is one thing that every branch of the military is famous for, and that is training, and probably some more training. There's even probably training that you receive that you didn't even realize you were receiving. Here's the good news. Add all of it. But like with the work experience, you'll need to add it in a way that your civilian hiring specialist is going to understand. So breaking it down, add all degrees. That's pretty simple. There is an option to put in your GPA. If it's 3.75 or higher, you can add it. If not, don't worry about it. I have not seen it be a disqualifier with the over 12 years of experience I have working within HR. Certifications, if you've received any kind of certification for any kind of training, add it. Training, if you perform training that you didn't have a certificate for, but you have some sort of qualification from that training, you can add that as well. And then test, if you received a certification that required a test, sometimes that is also helpful to add. And really, it just sets you apart from other applicants by adding any kind of training or certification that you've received. It shows that your career growth is important to you. So this is one of my favorite sections of USA Jobs, and most resumes do not have them on them at all that I see. And by adding an affiliation, it shows that you as a human being care about what you believe in and are a part of. And it shows that you want to give back to your community and you want to be involved, right? And that can stand out to a hiring manager or the HR team that's reviewing your resume. So think of it this way. If you are part of a nonprofit, you sit on a nonprofit board, you volunteer at a church or school or library or childcare or military branches like the Human Resource Command, anything like that, you can, just put that you are part of that. You can add a little brief summary on the role you hold, and you can even quantify what it is that you do and how often that you volunteer in that capacity. And that takes us right into volunteer work. I like to highlight on volunteer work because sometimes if you are separating from the military with maybe less than 10 years of service, you'll want to add as much work experience to your resume as possible. So think of some of those positions that you held in addition to the jobs you did in the military. If you were sponsoring, if you were mentoring, if you had a battle buddy program, if you volunteered at your child's childcare or school or at your local church, and then quantify what you did, and that can actually count as work experience as long as you add the time frame from when to when and the amount of hours that you did it. And then, of course, really think about how that volunteer work can apply to the job that you are applying for. References, like we previously stated, now 3 professional references are required once you get into the selection process of a job offer within the federal government. That was a new requirement that came out by OPM in 2022. I like to recommend that you have them ready to go on your profile and on your resume, and make sure your references know that you are using them as a reference. So that way when they are called, they can speak to your work experience, your work ethic, and overall your character and you as a person. So even if it's someone you haven't spoken with in a while, give them a call and say, hey, I'm applying to this job. I'm going to explore these different career options with the government. Can you please, answer when they call and share what it was like to work with me and speak to my character, hopefully good things, if they actually call you for a reference. And like I said, 3 professional references are required for any agency. I wanted to just share a little bit about what it looks like to go through a government interview. This was something that were some questions that came up during a couple of our presentations. So I wanted to just share with you some of the questions that I've seen commonly asked. And I title them behavioral interview questions. Tell me about your experience, where you grew, learned, how you left the situation better. Tell me about a time you had a conflict with someone on your team. What did you do? What was the outcome? Tell me about a time you didn't agree with a task or order. How did you respond? What was the outcome? Describe emotional intelligence and what does it mean to you? These are some common questions that I'm starting to see asked more and more during interviews. And don't be afraid to share an opportunity where you grew. You could share something where you were like, yeah, it wasn't the greatest, but then once I went through this experience and I learned from it, and now looking back, this is how I left the situation better. A couple reminders: send a thank you note, usually over email is fine. Your interview could be on camera. I recommend that you have your camera ready to go just in case. Don't expect a phone call interview. Wear solid colors. They come through a little bit more clear and they are less distracting when you're on camera. If your interview is in person, I recommend against smoking or intense perfume smells. It can also be distracting to the interviewers. And then go in calm, relate, connect with your interviewer, find some common ground. It's okay to be human. Don't be so robotic. I know the military does groom us to say things and act a certain way. Take a deep breath and go in calmly and just have that confidence about you that you are a good fit for this position and believe that. Ask questions. If you need them to repeat the question, that is okay. And take your time to respond. Just a little bit of a recap. USA Jobs is the main website. I strongly encourage you all to really take your time to build that profile and of course use the USA Jobs resume and build that by filling in all the information possible. Practice interviews. I've done so many practice interviews with veterans. I enjoy it. Have someone just say, hey, ask me these questions, pretend like you're interviewing me, and really get comfortable being in the spotlight during an interview and set yourself up to win. Most importantly, you do have what it takes to do anything with your life. The military was and is simply part of your journey. I appreciate all of you for listening in today. I hope you found some of this information helpful. And of course, feel free to reach out to me directly. My name is Chris Engel, and I'm available on LinkedIn.